Hello. All right, we're going to be talking about back pain, which isn't a pain in the ass, it's a pain in your back. Most people are going to deal with this throughout their life. I've been dealing with it since I was 18 years old. I was a young, in-shape guy, bent over to pick up a piece of paper one day and felt like I threw my back out. It was a pain I'd never felt before, so it was the most horrific thing in the world. Now, it's like no big deal. It's like, I tweaked my back. But this is common. It's common for people that train, and it's common for people that don't train. And it's your body telling you that you're all fucked up. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're overworking it. Maybe your posture's jacked up most of the day. Whatever it is. Maybe you have a big strength imbalance. Maybe you're good at deadlifting, but you're not good at turning with a weight. Who knows? But there's a bunch of factors, infinite number of factors. We're ignoring the massive injury where you got hit by a wrecking ball in the back, because that is what it is. Then you got to work around it, but still you're going to rebuild. So we're going to talk about what I did, which would have helped me when I was a young pup to figure this shit out a hell of a lot fucking faster. And I'm not too emotionally invested in this because we're not talking about the art or whatever, but this is good stuff, so I like it. So what I did learn is the doctors pretty much suck. The chiropractors are better because they do actually address it. The good ones, and they get your spine realigned, and they tell you the physical therapists are good because they show you exercise you didn't know or how to stand. If you're standing still for a really, really, really long time, it's a good idea to have one foot elevated, like a step or a curb or something. Like if you're ironing clothes for an hour and your back's all jacked up, it's a hell of a lot easier to do on your back if you put a little step stool and you elevate one foot. I don't know why. That's just the way we're built. So I was dealing with this a lot. And back over a decade ago on the grip board, again, Chris Rice, I'm calling you out, buddy. Thank you. I'm singing your praises. He put this picture up about this glute ham raise, which is this. And I'll show, you'll get to see more of it here in a minute. I contacted him. I looked at the prices of the things. They were $2,000 at the time. And you can still spend $2,000 or you can spend $500. Or you can build your own. You can take your pick. It all depends on what you need. And right now I'm parched. So we're going to take a time out. And this is my homemade reverse hyper. So it has steps. And you'll see all that here in a minute. But we're going to do the little man lesson first, because I'm about to get carried away and start talking. So this also substitutes as a little jungle gym for my kids. They've been playing on this probably since before they could walk. Again, Chris, thank you very much. So I've got this beautiful dark Stella beer. I was going to get the light ones. They reminded me of an old British buddy of mine, Johnny, who was built like Arnold at 46 years old, and still running around with steel body armor and a machine gun on his shoulder up the mountains in Afghanistan with 100 rounds of extra link around his neck. outrunning 18-year-old Army guys. The guy's a stud. And my life's better for knowing him. Just fantastic. Fantastic human being. Talk about back problems. He had fusions in his back, and he trained. He was a bodybuilder, and he kept working and functioning in the world because he stayed active. And he addressed problems that arose in whatever injury he had, whether it was his fused back, torn muscles, whatever. He addressed it intellectually and kept going forward. And I wish him the best in the world. My life has definitely been enhanced with him in it. So, it's not a twisty. How are we going to open this? Well, I just happen to have a 45-pound plate. And I think we can open this beer with this. So, I don't know what we're going to do, but holy shit. It worked. Delicious. You don't need can openers or bottle openers. You just do it. Figure it out. Then you bend the cap up. Alright. Drinking horn time. Gotta honor the old lady. This is the coolest, one of the coolest gifts I've ever had. And speaking of gifts, I just got an awesome gift in the mail. That's good dark beer. Stella, you did well. You did well. So talking about gifts, thank you, Chris Ryder. I can't wait to open it on Christmas Day. This will not be an unveiling. This is for me, but I do want to say thank you. And you can even see, he even sent me some bent coins because he's a coin bending superhuman, long-haired, red-headed strongman. Thank you very much. All right. So where are we in this discussion? I've been having talks with fellas for 20 years. Oh, my aching back. Oh, I fucked this up. Half the time I was the guy saying it. What do I do? Blah, 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 blah. And there are some things I learned. When some of it was good and some of it sucked. Stretching's a big one. Anything that stretches your, whether you're touching your toes, stretching your glutes, anything that stretches your glutes stretches your lower back. So that's a win. One thing I really like, which I'll probably just show you now, because it's easier than moving the camera and everybody getting seasick, is sitting, just doing a squat with your heels flat, not elevated, flat. In this, and I'll show it to you this way, like this, all right? Everything here is getting stretched out and elongated. That's a big one. For all the guys that have been overseas and doing what they do for the government, they call it the third world chair. Because your body is a chair if you're flexible enough to just sit your ass on your heels. I'm not saying that's how you should do strength training, but it is a great stretch and it's fantastic. And I do that, health permitting, or mechanically permitting, unless I'm dealing with an injury. I do it every day. Every day. It's awesome. You just do it 10 seconds a day. That over time keeps all the little vertebrae in line and nice and stretched out and all yogaed up. All right, it's awesome. I recommend that big time, as much as I recommend one of these. The other thing's the foam roller. I will attempt briefly to show you what I'm talking about. Just hang in there. This is going to be a little jacked up for a minute. It's a foam roller from Walmart. They're cheap. Get the hard one. Get the hard one. And I just sit down on it and you just roll your back out. This, I can feel I just had 2 vertebrae pop into place. It's awesome. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I highly recommend it. I can't say enough about it. It's worth every penny. In fact, anybody that's ever dealt with back pain should have one. Is it gonna fix all your problems? No. You gotta there's no quick answer. You have to understand what's going on. If your back's jacked up, and I still tweak my back a couple of times a year, but I know without question, I don't need to go to a doctor, because all he's going to say is, oh, take this pill. Well, the pill isn't fixing what the problem is. And the last thing in the world I need is pain pills. That's a whole nother conversation. So, let me get this out of the way. Pills don't fix the problem. They mask the symptom. We're trying to fix the problem. So I gave you my favorite stretch, and there's a lot of them out there. My favorite overall one is the third world chair. Second thing I really like is that foam roller. It is fantastic. I don't use it for therapy and do my ITB stretch and my glute stretch and roll around on it for hours on end. I just lay down on it like I showed you, go up and down a few times, pop, 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 pop. Everything's all nice and happy. Good to go. All right? Fantastic tool, and it's cheap as hell. So we're going to talk about this. And the only reason I have my own personal reverse hyperextension machine is because of Chris Rice. I talked about him a little bit earlier, and I'm going to talk about him again. It is like being, somebody is born again or whatever, and they want it. Thank you, Chris. It still impacts me to this day, years and years later. And it's important, and it's a fantastic tool to help you guys. So I'm going to show you basically what it looks like, and then I'm going to hop on the thing. I'm going to do a few reps, and it's easy day. This is handmade, made out of 2x6s. Okay, it's just a big ass table. Okay, it's a big table. It's got some high density foam staple on top of it. The hardware, Chris knew the dimensions and had it welded up for me. I sent him a check. He mailed me the hardware and sent me some planes, which is cool. We're gonna go. I don't have those planes anymore, and they're Chris's. I can give you the height, width, whatever, and the hardware. You can literally go to Home Depot and do it out of galvanized pipe. You really don't have to have it welded up. It worked fine. But so we're going to talk about why this machine is good. This machine is good because it accomplishes, and I didn't come up with this. Chris didn't come up with this. There's a fantastic genius of a powerlifter called Louis Simmons, who had dealt with back fusions and broken backs. And he had to figure out a new way to train his back if he still wanted to compete. And he came up with this. And you can train your back like you're on a regular hyperextension machine, or doing good mornings, or stiff-legged deadlifts, and all that, without, when you're doing those things and you're coming up, there's a shearing force on your spine this way, because gravity is always pulling down. It's always pulling down. And all those muscles over those vertebrae have to contract to hold everything together so you can lift whatever it is you're trying to do. Could be a piece of paper, or it could be a 600-pound deadlift. Well, if your back's jacked up, and you're also compressing, and there's a shearing force because of gravity, because you're laying on top of this, your spine is supported by the bench. So there's no shearing force. And I'll show you real quick. All right, so frame. So I put my feet in the little sling loop I had down here. I lay down on top of it. I grab and I go. And as you can see how it's pulling me underneath. When my legs are going under, it's tractioning my spine. Similar to like an inversion table, which is why inversion tables work. All right? But unlike the inversion table, I have a contraction. Does that make sense? So I can work everything from here, my erectors in my lower back, tying into my middle back, all the way down to where my upper hamstrings tie into my ass. All that gets worked. So top of the back of your leg, here, can't show you, the glute, and all the erectors. And that's your power machine, man. That's like your nuclear reactor. Tons of strength is there. And the key is to make it strong. When it's strong, you don't have back pain. If you do, you take a few days off, you roll your back out, you stretch it out, do a bunch of third world chairs, hit it with some hot water in the shower, maybe pop an ibuprofen. I never see any benefit from it. But next thing you know, in a week or two, you're good. You're good to go. You didn't spend a bunch of money at the fucking doctor, at the chiropractor, or whatever. You already realigned your back. You popped what needed to be popped. It may take a couple of days for the muscles to relax. That's okay. You just keep rolling it out. Hit it with the hot water. Stretch. Next thing you know, pop. Everything's good to go. You saved the money. You did it on your own. That's good. Now, these aren't cheap. This one was cheap economically for me because there's no way I could afford the only thing available. And we're talking 05-ish time frame. The only thing available was the best stuff in the world. You know, Louis Simmons' West Side Barbell Reverse Hyper. Couldn't afford it. And it was more than what I needed. So I spent instead probably about $250, $300 money-wise. But then I also spent probably about 2 days going out and getting the lumber, getting the high-density foam. There's sleeping pads for campers. Buying the stapler to staple that down on there. Get the vinyl on top, which turned out way better than I thought it would. And that took time. Money is a representation of time. If it is cheaper, if you can make more money in 2 days than it is to make your own, then just make the money and take the leftover and buy the reverse hyper. There's Rogue makes a bunch of different models. Westside Barbell makes them. There's other knockoffs out there. It doesn't matter for a home gym whether it's the greatest thing in the world, as long as it works. As long as it works. Because we're talking about your back health. Your back health is the most important thing. Excuse me. So it's an investment. Once you have it forever. It's not going anywhere. And you will reap the benefits of better back health till you're fucking dead. All right? And how much is that worth to you? Well, it's easy. How much money do people spend on going to doctors, paying for fucking prescriptions for painkillers, paying for chiropractors to get readjusted all the damn time? They'd probably pay a hell of a lot more than even if you bought the most expensive reverse hyper out there. And you would also know more about your own body because it is yours. You live in that meat suit. You've got to figure it out. All right? A good example on investment. So, good parts. Got my back there. Yeah. It's a mentality. I've always been more than happy to sacrifice whatever needed to be sacrificed to achieve the things I want to achieve. And then if for whatever reason the sacrifice became too great and other things were more important to me, then I would back off. All right? It's how you live your life. It's a big deal. Here's a good example. I was young. And I couldn't just afford it. I had to save money for it. And that's the coolest grip machine that's ever been made. It's called the Gripinator. An engineer named John Szymanski designed it. He had a company called PDA, Piedmont Design Associates. And the guy designed equipment to fill the gaps in strength trainers' training where they needed a piece of equipment that they couldn't find access to, and he would come up with it. All right? And it's just a cool grip machine. Look. See how cool that is? You can train so hard on that, you'll shit blood. That thing's crushed me way worse than my squat rack. It's just what you want. I wanted that. And I got it. It was like $400 back in, I don't know, a decade ago. Whatever. Well, you can get a reverse hyper now for just a little bit more than that. And it's a heck of a lot easier to make the $400 now. Thanks to all the quantitative easing and all the inflation. So, and I had that forever. I've had lots of guys train with it and buddies borrow it, and it's awesome. It'll last forever. My great grandkids will still be able to use that thing. It's not going anywhere. It's fantastic, and this is the same way. Now this will break down because it is wood, but I had taken it apart and moved it to this house and put it back together. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm not a big barbell guy. So I'm not crushing this in a training program all the time. I try and when I remember, because my back's doing so well, but if I just get on this and do a couple of sets, a month even, that little bit keeps my back really happy. And I have a profession for the last 20 years of carrying heavy stuff and wearing heavy gear. that does fuck up guys' backs. So this works. If you've got one of these, you get to help people. Because once you've learned it and you figure it out, when your buddy's hurting, just like, come over, have a couple beers, let me show you something. I've put people on this a couple of 2-3 different times over the course of a couple of weeks, and it fixed their back problem. Took the pain away. And then they're done. All right, good to go. Simple. And I'm not hurting them. I'm not pushing them hard. I'm keeping them light, and I'm just stretching them out. Just different ways stretching out. Time out for a second. Again, Chris Rice, thank you so much. Stretching, third wheel chair, back pain, yeah, bump. All right, we can do a little bit of measurements. I'll get, why don't you come with me? It'll take 2 seconds. So I'll get so for the guys out there who are handy and would like to build their own, well, I'm going to have to do that later, I guess, because that's not happening now. If you want measurements on it, that's fine. Just put questions down in the comments. I guess it's the comments down below. Not on the fucking Facebooks. I appreciate all the likes and comments on the Facebooks, but it's a huge pain in the ass to look back and forth. The back and forth thing between the YouTubes and the Facebooks and come on. No. Go to the if you see it, just go to the Facebooks, click on that, and if you got a question, ask there. If you ask questions, I'll have something to talk about. If you don't, because I'm starting to run out, because this is one of the most important things ever. Again, this beautiful reverse hyper. All right? Whoa. You can hear the angels fucking singing because it's fantastic. But if you want the measurements and stuff, I'll measure it out for you and I'll post it below. But I'm doing all this on my phone. I don't like the thumb thing, so if you got the question, just ask there, and that'll make it easier. I love you guys. Good back health to all of you. I hope you don't, if you're one of the people who don't have back pain, fucking be thankful. Be thankful. If you're like me, you're going to deal with it your whole life, which means you have to be active in addressing it. And you're going to have to do basic maintenance on it, just like changing the oil in your car. It's simple. It's easy. It's your back and you're responsible for it. So take care. I love everybody. Take care. Bye.